When was the last time you played Destiny 2? Maybe you've never played, maybe you play every day, or maybe, like me, you used to play but haven't gone back to it in a while. Well, firstly, if you haven't played before, you should definitely try it for yourself because you can do that completely for free. Once you've tried it, come back again and I'll tell you more. But for everyone else, we're going to take a look at the new expansion, Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Hello and welcome to PlayStation Grenade. Earlier this month, Bungie reached out to me as a former Destiny player and asked if I'd like to come back and see the way the next-gen consoles and new Beyond Light DLC has evolved Destiny 2. And I gotta say, I'm impressed. So much so that I've teamed up with Bungie to break down a handful of things you should know, and because this is a sponsored video, there's a link in the description should you want to see it for yourself. That includes 25% off on the newest content and other DLCs running until January the 5th. Destiny 2 is known for its space drama, chronicling our adventures planet hopping, fighting to protect humanity under the watchful eye of the Traveler, a celestial being that looks like a giant golf ball. Every game needs something weird, okay? The shooting mechanics are some of the best I've ever played, and only Call of Duty can compare to how this feels as a first-person shooter. And the looting element and searching for weapons and upgrades are as satisfying as they were 6 years ago. If you've spent time away or are new to Destiny, the introduction to the game and the mechanics have been completely updated. This free content for all, which is automatically started once the game opens for new players, but I also think it's worth playing even if you are a returning player. It can be found at the tower at the Quest Archive terminal along with lots of your former missions. See this like a content refresher. The mission structure is a retelling of the opening moments of the original Destiny game in the Cosmodrome on Earth. This is a much more condensed and easy to understand narrative. A Guardian Rises simplifies the lore without adding too much extra baggage for new players. This version of the story revolves around Shaw Han, who is attempting to find his crew and get back to the tower before disaster strikes. It only takes a few hours to complete and explains how weapon types work, lost sectors, patrols. It teaches all the basic elements that make up the experience of Destiny 2. So if you've had a break, definitely try there first. Destiny 2 Beyond Light adds a new location to the game, Europa. The smallest of 4 moons circling Jupiter, and if you look closely enough, you may spot Jupiter in the sky. Okay, it's a little closer than I expected. Europa is a frozen land, seemingly untouched for generations, but actually there's more going on here than meets the eye. And an evil Kel named Eramus is harnessing the power of darkness in the hopes of making the Fallen great again. In terms of lore, the big golf ball used to look after the Fallen, but the Traveler left them in the past, and the Fallen aren't too happy about that. In the past, we've had to level up to be able to play these expansions, but not this time around. So if you're worried about jumping back in after all this time, don't worry. All your characters will automatically be upgraded to power level 1050, allowing you to get straight into the new stuff instead of grinding levels to play what you paid for. So fill your boots. During the story, we will harness Power of Darkness, the sworn enemy of light, in order to be strong enough to take down Eramus. And this signals the first new element in Destiny since 2014. 6 whole years. We've had Solar, Void, and Arc ways to control our light, but now we can harness Stasis, a kind of dark ice subclass with some pretty impressive abilities. My hunter throws down a pickaxe which obliterates everything nearby in a frozen tornado kind of effect, and the knife throwing ability is replaced with a projectile that can deflect from walls. It's like a batarang made of ice. And remember the typical grenades? Well, now they're a wall of ice. I'm a hunter main, by the way. The Warlock rocks the Shadebinder, which utilizes a spear-like projectile, and the Titan is a behemoth with a ground pound of devastation. Beyond Light marks the start of a new trilogy in the Destiny saga, all about that darkness. And in order to understand this, look who has returned. The Stranger.
And here comes our Guardian. Right on time.
Back in 2014, this mysterious EXO helped us in the campaign, but then vanished from existence, leaving us with the greatest excuse to not talk to someone ever.
Who are you?
Why have you been watching us?
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
Well, now she's back, and she better start explaining things.
I owe you an explanation for all this.
Over the course of the campaign, we'll unlock our new ability and learn to use it to its fullest against all of Erasmus's minions. The new subclass is going to change how everything feels in-game. In PvE, this will be another tactical option, but it's the PvP area which will be most impacted, as for the last 6 years we've come accustomed to the 3 elements on offer, and now to throw a new one in makes for some interesting changes in battle, as the community finds the best meta. I'm sure you've noticed the visual update to Destiny 2 on console. I'm playing on the PS5, but it also works on other next-gen hardware. Destiny 2 is now available in 4K 60 frames per second. This video is only 1080p, so you'll have to multiply the visuals by 4 to get a real value here. But look how beautiful it is. But that's not the thing I really want to shout about here. It's actually a setting in the menu. The FOV slider, the field of view, can finally be changed on console. Here, let me show you why this is a big deal. The typical default field of view is usually stuck at around 75 degrees in first-person shooters. This gives us a blend of accuracy in gunfights and enough peripheral vision around the sides to spot other threats. Any smaller than this and people can get motion sick, and any wider than this, hitting shots becomes particularly hard at range. So 75 degrees became the best middle ground. Destiny 2 allows us to change this on the fly, which means if you have a preference in other games, it can now be transferred over. And FYI, I much prefer 90. A heck of a lot more visual space without too much of a drop in accuracy. For the ultra competitive, Destiny 2 now supports 120 frames per second in PvP matches. The Crucible, the place where you take on other Guardians, is where your reactions and accuracy are most needed. So 120 frames of smoothness gives you a significant advantage over players stuck on 30 frames per second. This is usually one of the key reasons why players migrate to PC, to control frame rate and field of view, and overall be in charge of how their game looks. And you've guessed what I'm going to say next. All those options are now here on next-gen consoles. We can now clean up the image however we want it to look. And finally, for next-generation updates, the boot-up times. The loading speed is now mind-blowing. The solid-state drives offer near instant loading into and out of encounters, and the same goes for character updates. Of course, we've still got to fly to our destinations. That will always take time in an online game, but for context, I used to watch players speedrunning raids back in the day, and one of those people was Tfue, and I always remember him saying the hardest thing in speedrunning was switching your character's abilities around while you waited for them to update. On PS5 and Xbox Series X, this issue is no more. So there we have it, a bunch of cool things in the latest version of Destiny 2 Beyond Light. From technical improvements on console to a brand new adventure which will make up a new trilogy in years to come. Now looks like a good time to try Destiny 2 completely free, and if you like the core loop of shooting and looting, you may want to try the expansion Beyond Light. There is far more to look at, and the more I play Destiny, the more I want to play Destiny. So if you'd like me to cover this in future, just let me know. You're in charge of the future of this channel. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. Thanks to Bungie for inviting me back to the world of Destiny 2 and for sponsoring this video. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you next time.